Many Nigerians at one point or the other have had experience dealing with vehicle inspection officers, popularly known as VIO, either for vehicle registration, certification for driving license, inspection of vehicle roadworthiness, etc. However, the high-handedness of some VIO officials has resulted in bad experience for some vehicle owners in the Federal Capital Territory and beyond. What are the rules of engagement of vehicle inspection officers, and how can they discharge their duties without putting the lives of commuters in harm's way? This will be our focus on Dateline today. I am Ayuba Ile. Thank you for joining. Now, the Directorate of Road Transport Services in the FCT was created, among other things, to complement the efforts of relevant agencies engaged in road safety activities or in the prevention of accidents on the highways. However, the conduct of some vehicle inspection officers have sometimes resulted in accidents and sometimes traffic gridlock on the roads. Very recently, a video went viral on social media showing a scene of an accident at the Lugbe Bridge along Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport Road, Abuja. The accident was reported to have been caused by some VIO officers who were driving on one way while chasing a vehicle at the Lugbe interchange. According to eyewitness report, the officers were driving against the traffic on the bridge in an attempt to arrest a driver whose vehicle documents were alleged to have expired, but in the process had a head-on collision with an oncoming Toyota Corolla vehicle. Joining me to talk about this in the studio is Salihut Antata Mahmood, a security analyst. Thank you so much for joining us on Dateline this moment.
Very good evening, Mala Ayuba, and our listening audience, both at home and abroad.
All right. Well, I mean, the functions of the vehicle inspection officers is one that sometimes can be misunderstood, especially if it is sort of overlapping with that of the Federal Road Safety Corps. So make clear for us, what exactly are the roles of vehicle inspection officers?
Thank you very much, Mr. Ayuba. Even while I'm not their image maker, but as a security expert and analyst, I have taken my time over times to study laws establishing the various security agencies, residual creations, and even recent traffic creations like Carota, Castella, and host of things. The issues are about the VIO, because that is the general name they are called in the country, but that of the Federal Capital Territory, they are called Directorate of Road Traffic Services. And they are a residual creation. And when we say residual creations are creations under state governments. That is to say, they have no business with federal authorities. Like road safety, for instance, they are a federal creation created by Babangida in 1988. But for VIO, they have been in existence dated back even before our independence in 1960, because my father, who used to be a Dandoka, these short-knickered police officers then that escorted the Premier and other top notchers and the Northern Premiership, then told me amongst their escorts were even officers of vehicle inspection offices, which are VIOs. So that is for you to know that the VIO has a long history. But you know, over time, things start to change. Majorly, their duties start from renewing papers when your papers expire, to test you alongside, before the creation of the road safety, the total test for licenses are between the licensing offices as well as VIO offices in state, until the Federal Road Safety Commission was created, that they now made it a kind of tripartite arrangement, a responsibility shared between the VIO and the road safety, where for you to be ensured to carry a valid driver's license, you have to undergo vehicle inspection officers test and other things. Then it is at the final stage that the road safety captures you. That's why you see in most of either the road safety offices in Zone 3, Zone 7, or VIO offices in Mabushi, or their zonal commands across, when you are seeing road safety officers capturing, you also have VIO officers close to them. Before the stage of that capturing, it is the VIO officers that ensure that, yes, you have the sight, you have everything that it takes, you are medically fit, you are mentally fit to drive, to possess a valid driver's license. Also, it is their duty to know, to inspect vehicles, to know the roadworthiness of such vehicles, whether private or commercial. That is why in cases you see they check your wipers, they check your C caution, your fire extinguisher, your tires, your wipers, your handbrake, your brake light, your full light, your dim, and also of others. Again, they periodically carry out enforcements on the road where they ensure that when your papers expire, that you go and renew them, because it is against the law for vehicle papers to expire and you drive on it. Also, it is also their duty to also enforce the law to ensure that you drive with valid driver's license on the road, amongst other things. Then also the number plate you are seeing, they also share it with the Federal Road Safety Commission, like the production plants are mostly owned by Federal Road Safety Commission, except Lagos State government that has been able to institute and establish their own production plant. But most of the production plants that produces the number plate, so the design and production is done by road safety, while the end users, the VIO that distribute it to the public. So you can see this is also a shared responsibility between the two. So these, among others, are some of the responsibilities and duties of the vehicle inspection officers.
So, but while discharging their duties, we have seen that sometimes, you know, the overzealousness and high-handedness of some officials has resulted in very, very terrible experiences. I mean, sometimes you hear cases of accidents and the rest of them. How exactly are they supposed to enforce, or I would say discharge their duties without necessarily risking the lives of commuters?
You see, just the way you have overzealousness amongst some officers and personnel in the armed forces, police and other security agencies, same way you have in the VIO, same way you have in Castella, same way you have in Carota. You see, sometimes the superior officers, before these boys goes on check at their various checking points, especially from mornings and what have you, they go through what they call DOBA, where the provosts of their offices, like that of the Abuja here, I'm privy to it, the provost of the institution is a very close friend, Provost Sani Ibrahim, where periodically they orientate them. Don't do this, be civilized, you can be cautious, you tell somebody, sir, can I see your papers and what have you. Unfortunately, some of them don't inculcate the culture of civility when they go there on the road. So, and that is why you see sometimes they go above their rules of engagement by even engaging in this, because there is no law in the country that says, as a vehicle inspection officer, because you are pursuing an offender, that you must violate the road traffic rules, because whether police, army, navy, air force, except if it's an emergency for like there is what you call to national duty. Maybe there are emergency rescue situations that you can do. But for the fact that you are pursuing an offender, I think it is against the laws. So like the incumbent director, Dr. Abdulatif Bello, he was recently redeployed. The former director, Wadata Aliu Bodinga, was someone also who tried to see that operations of the officers and personnel is done with civility and whatever, which his predecessor, Dr. Abdulatif Bello, is trying to do, because he was Itato in the Security Services Department in the Federal Capital Territory Administration before he was redeployed. Right. So most of the attitudes you are seeing sometimes, it is inbuilt in some of these officers. And that is why we are saying that when you recruit or you enlist any personnel or officer, ensure that they go through 9-month prerequisite mandatory training. In the police, you cannot recruit a police constable or a private in army or a rating in navy or their equivalents in immigration, custom and others, and just let them operate. So the issues are when the training is poor, when they are not properly given what they need to be equipped with, and sometimes you see this. So I think for the avoidance of any issues, the director Dr. Abdulatif Bello, even though I will give him that grace that is barely new in the directorate, he should please make a case before the Federal Capital Territory Administration Minister, because they are the ones that supervises them, to construct and establish a vehicle inspection training school, so that if you are employed newly in the FCT Directorate of Road Traffic Services, you will even learn the road signs yourself. Okay. Then you will be taught your rules of engagement. Then you'll be taught on how to relate with the public.
So you are saying that some of these infractions that we see goes back to the issue of training.
Poor training. Because to the best of my knowledge, most of their trainings are carried out in a borrowed space in Kubwa orientation camp. A VIO that is the second largest revenue generating institution in FCT, not to have a training school calls for concern. So I think the FCT authorities need to take that as a point of concern.
All right. So how exactly are they expected to carry out their duties? What are the constitutional powers that they have? Do they have, I mean, yes, we see the stop and search, and then now if someone is found not to have fulfilled all the requirements, or maybe is having expired documents and the rest, how is the person supposed to be, I mean, dealt with? Is it arrest? Do they have powers to arrest, or what?
Yes, on traffic-related issues, they have the powers to arrest, even though I told you I'm not their PRO, but as a security analyst, I know much about their operations. Whenever a vehicle is apprehended and the papers have expired, it is expected that that vehicle is taken to their area command, the area command in charge of that route. You know, they have different area command, they have command channels and what have you. You take it to the command, then the first thing you ensure that the paper is renewed before even the issue of fine is talked about, before that vehicle leaves that premises.
But there are those who have contested this, the fact that they do not have the powers to arrest. I mean, going to as far as the court to even secure judgment.
Well, that was in Imo State, not in FCT. You know the laws. I told you it's a residual, they are residual creation. So the laws binding Kano State differs from Kano. The laws binding Imo State differs from FCT. This is Federal Capital Territory, and I'm telling you on powers of traffic in the Federal Capital Territory Administration. As regards the FCT Directorate of Road Traffic Services, they do. They have most of the powers you see them vesting. They are enshrined in power of the traffic, which is called power of the Minister on Road Traffic, which I am privy to because I have had many things to do with most of the security agencies, including their own. So there was a time a lawyer took the Delta State Vehicle Inspection Service to court, and I think it lingered on up to the appellate court. So that is for Delta State. So the law in Delta State, you see, people misinterpreted the interpretation of the appellate court that was privy to it. So the pronouncement was basically for Delta State, because when you talk about residual issues, the laws that governs Delta State on traffic might differ from that of the FCT, even though they have a conference of VIO, but their laws of operation differ. So for the Federal Capital Territory that I know, they have the power to arrest and impound and ensure that you renew.
All right. So in terms of issues of misconduct, say for instance dealing with corruption and the rest of them, sometimes you find that people are having one issue or the other, and then they are being exploited, even financially and all that. What are the ways to deal with that, to make sure that people are not taken advantage of?
You see, sometimes we are the problems as motorists. For example, when you go to their headquarters there in Mabushi, or you go to their area command in Jabi close to you here, or you go to that of Area 1 or Lugbe or AY or what have you, they always advise that don't patronize people in Mufti. Ensure, if it is driver license processing, if it is renewal of vehicle papers or motor number plate registration, ensure that you get into the premises and do the needful. Some people are busier than even CMDs hospitals. There are instances where somebody will go, maybe at the Mabushi gate or Jabi gate, they patronize people that are not even personnel and officers of the VIO, and sometimes they fall victim. Then regarding issues of exploitation, they have severally, their PRO has severally spoken most of their sponsored programs where they say don't induce or don't give any financial gratification to any officer on the road. They do that. Sometimes you might be architect of your own problem because you violated, maybe you have expired papers, licenses and whatever, you want to do the back door, you end up falling a victim. What stops you from getting into the office? The law is there for us. The law does not harm. It only makes us to take correction. So I think this should be like a platform for people to know that you have no business giving any vehicle inspection officer money on the road, because I know by the rules and standard, even though I'm not their officer, they have zero tolerance for that, which I believe the predecessors of this director and even the present director, Dr. Abdulatif Bello, has been preaching. Because there was a time that they had induction of volunteers for VIOs, which is called VIO mayors. I was invited to give a lecture on security-related matters with road traffic, where I saw the director mentioning that don't demand, don't insist, and don't negotiate, which is good. So I think sometimes too, we as motorists should also ensure that we do the needful in order to avoid these, unnecessary taxing by some of the corrupt ones. And like corruption is everywhere. It is there in the security services and well as civil service.
Okay, all right, thank you so much.
Even though it remains an allegation.
Yes, we'll take a short breather now, and then when we return, we'll take a look at other issues concerning this. Please stay with us.
TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
All right, thank you for staying. You're watching Dateline, reaching you from the Federal Capital Territory right here on Trust Television, talking about the safety of roads as it involves officials of the vehicle inspection officers. We have in the studio Salihu Dantata Mahmoud, a security analyst, talking to us about recent happenings as far as that is concerned. Now, some of the experiences that we have seen, or I would say some of the grievances that have been shared by members of the public, even on social media when you go sometimes, is this idea of having officers jump into people's vehicles and private vehicles. I mean, is there no better way of doing this?
Like I told you, you see, there is what you call individual attitude, individual problem. No matter the training, sometimes once somebody has a kind of inbuilt attitude, he or she displays it. This attitude, no organization, no responsible organization will ever condone that a vehicle is moving in the quest to apprehend it, you jump into it. That itself have abused the standards, the integrity, and good image of your organization. And I want to tell you, not even their director, not even the mandate secretary of the FCT Transport Secretariat, because the Transportation Secretariat supervises the DRTS. So the principal one is the minister, and the secondary one that is appointed to supervise is the mandate secretary. So no one would support such action. And that is why I said there is the need to establish a proper training ground for them where you spend nothing less than 9 months before takeoff. Because to the best of my knowledge, I don't think they spend up to 9 months in the borrowed orientation camp in Kubwa for their training.
That would take a lot of resources to do that.
And they do for police constables in police colleges, and somebody spent 4 years in Nigerian Defense Academy to become a regular cadet, regular combatant. Most of these regular combatant officers that does personnel parade from NDA, before ITATO it was 5 years, reduced to 4 years. Tamal 1, Tamal 2, Tamal 3, up to Tamal 4 before you do the personnel parade. So both the Air Force cadet, the Army cadet, the Naval cadet that makes the Nigerian Defense Academy, I'm talking about the regular combatant, they spend 4 years. Talk more of others, or non-commissioned officers of traffic correction. So that will go a long way.
So you think that safety of roads is that sensitive and critical for us to pay such attention?
Traffic is everybody's business. Whether a general in the military, rear admiral in the component of the Navy, an AIG, private sector driven person, media executive, traffic is everybody's business. For the fact that you use the roads, for the fact that you drive. If you don't drive, a driver drives you. Even when you fly a first class plane, when you land, you still need vehicle to take you from the airport home. So that makes traffic everybody's business. So it is only in this part of the world that we relegate anything related to traffic. For we to say that traffic is that important, it means we are not even trying to give importance to our life.
All right.
How come the aviation sector has an important organization that they call International Civil Aviation Organization, African Civil Aviation Organization, and others. Okay. Therefore, if this is important, then the road transport must be important. And for it to be made important, people that enforces laws on roads must be properly trained. So if you are training there for 9 months, I don't think it's too much.
All right, now for people who are now, I would say, more or less like victims, because in the case of the recent incident we saw, where the vehicle of the vehicle inspection officers ran into a Toyota Corolla, who now bears the brunt? Who is now to pay for the damage that has been caused?
You see, I want to tell you that was overzealousness at the highest peak. That was violation of their rules of engagement. That was a denting of the image of the director. But sometimes once issues happen, it is always good to do what you call alternative dispute resolution. In first world countries, no matter how right the VIO are, they will of course pay for the damages. We are in democracy, we are not a military regime. You said it, that they violated by following one way. I believe their director on that day did not ask them to follow one way. Their area commander did not ask them to follow one way. Their deputy director of operations did not ask them to follow one way. So I think for it to serve as deterrent, that person whose Corolla was damaged must be adequately compensated. That vehicle should be put into better shape the way it was, because you already said it one way. And what are they? It is a clear.
All right. Again, there's also the issue of traffic gridlock, where you have officials of the VIO create unnecessary gridlock on the road in the process of trying to, discharge their duties and all of that. Sometimes they park their vehicles right on the road, blocking virtually almost half of the road and all that. How do we deal with that?
Well, I know of this minister since its inception, Dr. Alhaji Musa Muhammad Bello. He has a policy they call ministerial traffic flow, where from morning 7 o'clock to 10, they don't allow not only the VIO, including all the uniform agencies, to make traffic arrests in order for workers to get to their places of work fastly. But sometimes supervision, if supervision is not up to certain level, the boys, especially at the outskirts, they constitute nuisance, they will do whatever they want to do. The issues are, these are attitudes that must be checked, because I can never support that, especially as somebody coming from the, civil, what have you. I think the director as well as other higher echelons must enhance supervision since this complaints has been there. I know of ministerial traffic control where you ensure that traffic flow from 7 to 10. Is it still being adhered to by VIO, road safety police, and other traffic controllers at traffic points? These are issues. So the director must ensure that most of his other subordinates enhance supervision in order to ensure that these areas that have been mentioned, that traffic must flow, because we have no business making traffic to have gridlock. If people must get to their places of work, whether at closing time or at the point of going to work, it must be done timely.
All right. Thank you so much, Comrade Salihu Antata Mahmood, security analyst, for joining us on Dateline and giving us insight into some of these issues. We appreciate you coming.
Thank you, Malam Ayuba, for your eloquent anchormanship.
Thank you. All right, with that, we've come to the end of Dateline for today. You can catch us, you can watch more on all our social media platforms and also watch us live on YouTube. We are there streaming 24/7. My name is Ayuba Ilya. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.